Hi, this is All Access with John Samuel. I'm your host, John Samuel. And today we have a special guest. We have Shellena Heber, who is the Executive Director of the Valley Center for the Blind. Not only is she a leader of a company, she's also a mother of two kids and also now teaching them from home during this COVID pandemic time. So thank you, Shellena, for joining us.
I am so glad to be here today. I know we've all been through quite the wild ride these past couple of months, and I'm just really grateful that we've been able to have a lot of support. And yeah, I certainly have leaned a lot on my family for joy and fun during these interesting times.
That's fantastic. You know, it's unique during these pandemic times that there's a lot of people who've been struggling. But at Valley Center for the Blind, you guys have been having some rapid growth. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to do so. I have been in this field for over 5 years now, which isn't terribly long, but we have had some big goals for a long time and had really struggled in the past to figure out how you kick open that door. How do you grow and do things better for your community and pursue those really exciting strategic goals? And along with the challenges of the pandemic, and it's been so tough for everyone, but we are so blessed at VCB that we were able to find opportunities to make some of those big goals happen. Our communities needed to be supported in a unique way through this pandemic, and that gave us opportunity for creativity, and that we're so glad to say led to quite a few accessible jobs for our visually impaired clients who just so deserve to work and have been making us look good for 8 months now.
That's fantastic. So how many employees have you brought on over the last year?
We have brought on, well, we started 2020 with 18, and we are now officially at 43. And
That's
all of our new hires have been, the best candidates for the job also happen to have low vision or be blind.
that is fantastic. I love it. And so, how did you get into this field yourself?
Um, I started out my very, very young career working in politics, and I really found that helping the community was something that I just saw a niche in. And I think what I was looking for as I went through different organizations, working either more in public works or more for nonprofits, was I was looking for a place that I could use my unique interests to really make a difference. Finding Valley Center for the Blind over 5 years ago, it was a very small organization. I think it was somewhere like the seventh or eighth employee at the time.
Oh, wow.
And, there was just a lot of things that I had learned from other organizations that people who were there didn't necessarily have that nonprofit experience. So I don't, I can't claim to have a personal connection to blindness myself, but the passionate and tremendous people who I work with who do have that connection, they made that so I couldn't ever leave. It's such an amazing industry to work for, and I'm just lucky that I went on an interview and found a place that felt like home.
That's amazing. I love the fact that, even if you don't have a connection to the blind community, you can still find joy in the work that you do there. And we need advocates and allies like yourself in the community and who are leading change. So it's amazing. Thank you for all the work you do.
Oh, thank you. Only because I've got leaders like you that I can learn from. So,
No, but that kind of ties into kind of the work that we're doing right now. Over the last couple of months, we've started to work with your team and train folks on becoming analysts, accessibility analysts. So, from your own vision, kind of what were you looking for as we started to work together between Abler and Valley Center for the Blind?
well, I'll tell you, John, where we started at. When we were first looking at creating jobs, we were going a pretty traditional route in our minds and our planning that we would create a product. We would have people and have a really nice, beautiful warehouse where people would put things together or do packaging, which is all really wonderful work. And we're so glad that other people in our field do that. Personally, I really don't know anything about that. I know a lot about services and helping people and making a team that gets to use their unique abilities to really benefit a workplace. So for us, the service model and you know jobs that give people a chance to use their education or communication skills is important. And along the way, we have met some people who are so tech savvy, it blows me away. I've got a couple people on our team who are fully blind, and if there's something wrong with my computer, they fix. And I love that. It's one of my favorite stories because people who are sighted don't often think about people who are screen reader users being so adept with technology. And so coming and finding out about the Abler experience, um, I mean, it is just so thrilling to think that we could be doing this high level work. And we're in the heart of California, very close to some of the biggest tech industry in the world. And so we see there to be a real value for boots on the ground folks who not only know how to test accessibility, but also use it so they can give that real user experience to companies as a major benefit. So our partnership with Abler opens the door tremendously to taking that next step as not only offering services that we can do, but services that we are passionate about.
No, it's awesome. Yeah, when we got connected, it was great to find another organization that got it and wants it and has the capacity to do something. When we think about that GWC model, and and that's what we really need. There's a lot of great organizations doing really amazing things, but we're a lot doing them in silos. And so one of the things that we've been wanting to do with the Able Our Ally program is to be able to connect those dots and bring that unified voice together. And so, is there anywhere in your career or kind of what you've seen, have you seen any good partnerships that you think that would be a good model for us to kind of strive for?
We talked a little bit about some of the creativity that's come out of the pandemic. And I would say more than any other point in my career, I have seen that this pandemic has opened the door to immense possibility in constructive, long-lasting collaboration. Um, we're a part of a collaboration for some call center work that started at another organization, and they have been such tremendous partners and really gave us that very first opportunity to prove to ourselves what our capabilities were. But I would say probably the strongest and most interesting partnership we've had is with our local county. Other than pandemic, the word of 2020 was equity. And we found with our county an opportunity to do a COVID-19 equity project for the disability population. And that work with our county, we hadn't really ever seen a financial situation where the county would be able to support the work that we do. But because we want to make sure that our blind and visually impaired population are supported equitably through this, Fresno County let us have that opportunity to create this partnership, create more jobs, and show the community what value organizations like VCB and like Abler have.
Yeah, that's amazing. When I think about, it's great to have a community that is supportive of you. And when I think about the fact that there's only two blind organizations in California, is that correct?
There's quite a big network of us, but mostly what our agencies do in California is rehabilitation. So employment, providing accessible employment opportunities. I think there's only two blindness specific organizations that do that work. And that's relatively new.
Yeah.
We're still relatively new in this workforce development field.
And so has you talked about the county supporting y'all now, but do you think there's more support from, more local governments that we can tap into in California or other places you've worked or lived?
Yeah, I mean, I think that possibilities are endless. And that is what I so appreciate about what we've done with Fresno County and what we're doing with Abler and other unique strategic partnerships we've been able to form in these last 6 months or so. Nothing we're going into was with the idea that this would end when the pandemic ended.
Yeah.
Everything we're doing, I think, is setting up a strong foundation for future collaboration. And if nothing else, maybe we'll get to take a look at Fresno County's website accessibility. But certainly want to create lasting relationships that continue to create unique opportunities to give people real employment, because we know that can be hard to find as a visually impaired person, which is most unfortunate. And we're just lucky we're in a position to help with that.
Yeah. It's amazing that you were able to bring in 27 or 28 new folks onto your team over the past year. So is there just a lot of demand for people, I mean, for people with visual impairments looking for jobs in the market in Fresno right now?
Well, when we first started off, I'm going to be really honest, we called people we knew. We looked at who are some clients that we've helped with services, especially in the area of assistive technology in the last couple of years, who just were amazing. And if we hadn't checked in with them in a while, it sure was a nice opportunity to check
Yeah.
in with them now. So our first round of hires was our friends, people who we knew really well. But as soon as we put the word out there to the community, I mean, the resumes started flying in. I've gotten 3 or 4 this morning.
That's
And
fantastic.
because because of this wonderful, weird transition to virtual work, one of my employees is in San Diego, and I'm smack dab in Central California.
Yeah.
Another employee is in San Jose. So it really doesn't matter so much on a lot of these projects where my employees live, just that they're talented and that they are interested in working and that they're interested in doing the jobs we have available. And they're doing a really great job at it. Like I said, making us look really good.
That's awesome. At the beginning of COVID, I wrote an article about the silver lining of COVID, right? And that was the fact that all of a sudden all these jobs were able to be done at home, where previously a lot of companies said no, we can't do it. They have to come into people have to come into the office. But we've seen that having a virtual workforce can work, and in particular with the disability community, it's been great. And so it's amazing to see the success that you're having with that. And
Oh, thank
so
you.
yeah, I mean, I think it's a really great model to see what y'all have done because you must be one of the fastest growing agencies. Again, I don't know. Do you have any statistics or any knowledge about that?
I don't, but to be honest, we've been so busy that I feel like a little bit we live in a bubble. I mean, we're not out to compare ourselves to anybody else, but we're comparing ourselves to us every day and seeing if we can do a little bit better every day. I don't know what it is, but something's in the water that it's working. So
That's awesome. And so you mentioned, we talked about you being a mom as well, and so you have two children. Is that correct?
I do. Evangeline is 7 in second grade, and Grayson turns 4 next week. And very, very social. This was really tough on him at the beginning. Um, and so it has. It's been an interesting experience as a parent, I think, going through and continuing to care so much about what we do and work wise and help my amazing team continue to
Yeah.
grow and expand. And you're kind of doing the same for your kids too. So we've had
Yeah.
a lot more good days than bad days, but definitely hasn't been perfect all along the way. So
Well, that's really interesting because I know, I have two kids myself, and actually I have a 4-year-old he's gonna turn 4 next week as well.
oh
So
yeah.
yeah, so my son Eli will be turning 4 next week as well. So that's funny. And but what I was wondering is, do your children know what you do, and have they built any new empathy about working with your work with the blind community?
I think more than anything, it's that a lot of children just don't have exposure to the blind community. When I was growing up in school, we had a deaf and hard of hearing little cohort at my school I went to. And so I remember I learned a lot of sign language as a child, and it was very normalized to me. People using sign language, but that isn't necessarily something that um, everyone has experienced in their life, being around people from a young age with any sort of disability. So I think that my children understand it's been most part of their lives what mommy does. Um, my daughter's favorite thing to do is find books about Helen Keller. I mean, she's just obsessed. And I mean, who isn't? Of course, her life was tremendous, and we all idolized. It got quotes up everywhere.
Yeah.
But the other day, she was looking in the back of one of her books, and she's like, "Mommy, I want to learn how to read Braille."
Oh
But it was
wow.
just printed dots on the page, with
Yeah.
ink. And so I went out to my car because I was delivering a Braille book to somebody the next day, and I brought it in, and she sat there for a while, putting her fingertips over the Braille and just, putting herself in that position, even at 7, of what if this was how I read instead of the way that I read now. And
Yeah.
I think it would be so wonderful if all children got that experience to feel Braille, to listen to a screen reader, to have a blindfold and use a white cane, because I think that would change a lot of the perception of people who we serve, and certainly would help with things like treatment of blind children in education, and would probably translate very much into the employment um, challenges that our folks face.
I love. I 100% agree with you, and I think awareness is critical right now. And I'm glad that we have an ally in your daughter. So that's awesome. And I'm just
She
so
is
thankful.
definitely an advocate, let me tell you.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, I'm so thankful to just have this opportunity to share and talk with you. And I learned so much from you, and I'm really, really excited to work with you in the future and to grow with you because there's a lot for me to learn from you, and I thank you for that.
Oh, wow. Well, that's such an honor to hear you say. I mean, I just think we're going to do tremendous things together, and I cannot wait to bring more accessibility awareness to the Central Valley here in California and beyond.
That's awesome. So, Shelena, how can people get in touch with you? Is there social media for Valley Center for the Blind? So, how's the best way?
Well, I mean, we're trying really hard to be pretty much everywhere. I've got just the greatest social media coordinator now. I'm so grateful for her. And then so you can find us online. We make ourselves pretty easy at valleycenterfortheblind.org. And then we are my VCB as our handles on our social media. And we actually just recently started a podcast. It is super fun. I just love what some of our staff have put together. And we're really just trying to do a better job of getting out there and giving people the opportunity to know who we are.
That's awesome. Thanks again, Shelena, for taking the time to speak today, and looking forward to a bright future.
Well, very much my pleasure. Thank you too.